Welcome back to Film-Studio-Taku-in-Japan. This is T. Mellon of Film-Studio-Japan.com. I am a photographer from Seattle, Washington, who has been living in Japan for more than 14 years. And I specialize in natural world, landscape, and I do cityscape as well. But really nature is my true love, being from north of Seattle, actually, basically temperate rainforest. You know, it's just where I feel at home. I grew up running through the forest, and yeah, that was my life. So I'm more comfortable in nature than I am in the city. So this is my last trip to Nagano here this year. It was, I believe, early March, and now as I'm filming this, it's late May. But, you know, I tackled these photos fairly early. This is the full version of, actually no, this is the full version of that photo. I got a bunch of this couple. This is a mother and I think daughter. She was having a bad day, obviously, and the mother was comforting her. I'm actually sitting on stairs, metal stairs, frozen stairs. I go up there dressed like I'm gonna go snowboarding because I know I'm gonna be there all day and I'm gonna be cold if I don't. But anyways, so I'm literally sitting on this narrow stairway, giving just enough space so other people can get by. And I have a 250mm lens, so I'm fairly far away actually. They're in this like kind of cave, hiding under to the side of the staircase. Most people didn't see them. The only people that really figured out that they're there because they saw me. They either thought I was crazy and they kept moving, or they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then they figured out what was there. But I was really trying to be respectful of this pair because obviously, again, she's having a bad day. So yeah, I actually quickly switched to silent shutter mode for most of these shots to really not disturb them. And pretty much they forgot I was there. I mean, every now and then she's looking at me, but for the most part they were unaware that I was there, or at least they didn't care. But anyways, so yeah, this last time though, I really was not happy the whole day with my white balance, and I don't know what it was, because usually what I do is I just target the snow and then I set my white balance that way. You have to reduce exposure to do that because the snow will usually show overexposed. But generally speaking, it's worked for me each time that I've gone there, but this time it just wasn't working for whatever reason. So I'll show you here. I mean, I tend to shoot dark, so this is an original unedited file. Obviously my framing is a little off on this one, but if I crop in, it doesn't matter. And I'll show you here, but yeah, the white balance, just everything looked dingy for the most part this whole day, whether it was here or at the onsen. There were a few exceptions to that rule, but I was just, again, not really happy with it and not really sure why that was. I don't know what the issue was, other than I am always sleep deprived when I go there because I take the late night bus and the seats continually get smaller and smaller. This time it was crazy, inhumane, literally a box, like, because they put a divider between you and the other person. I was smashed against the window, smashed against the box for 7 hours. And that's the bus to Shinjuku. I'm calling them by name because somebody needs to talk to them. It's not right what they're doing. It's gotten smaller and smaller, and even the Japanese people who are much smaller than me were not comfortable, clearly. But yeah. Anyways, I'll let that go for now. I'm probably going to rant about that more in the future because I can't believe that. But anyways, what I'll show you here though, so this is basically the white balance that I came up with. This photo was just so inspiring to me that this is one I worked on earlier. I'm going to copy the adjustments from this photo and just show you that quite quickly, paste it in to this or apply it to this, and we're going to end up with a very nice photo. It automatically cropped it because that photo had the crop. But this one, again, I would want to crop because the framing was off anyways, and at the same time, as much as I love the full body versions of these, I do find that cropping in on this particular image, or most of these images, just brings a level of magic that's otherwise not there. It's trickier than you think, by the way. There, that's pretty good though. A little bit of hazy up here. That's what's happening here is you can see the snow on them. That's not from before they came in there. It's because there's actually quite the snowstorm at this moment. This is kind of the peak of the snowstorm for the day, and it occasionally is just blowing directly in on them. And this is a lot of times the snow is just right in front of the lens, and it creates a blur effect, or sometimes it even lands on my lens. I don't know for sure what that was. There's some ways to take care of that fairly easy. I guess I'll show you really quickly. You could do the whole image, but I want to keep everything kind of the way it is. So what we're going to do, we go style brushes. We're going to choose see, this is where you could, oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, that's what we want. Haze remove. I didn't actually, that's the first time I've used haze remove directly from the style brush. But yeah, you can just take that. You can create your own. If it's not in there, you can create your own brush for basically any function. But I'm just going to kind of drag it across there, maybe a little bit right there because I see it hitting there. And maybe just a tiny bit in her hair. So yeah, that already did something. Let's see what that did. We're going to go up here. Oh, what am I doing? We're going to turn off that haze, see how much it actually affected it. Not sure why it's not letting me turn it off. Regardless, what I actually want to do is add more haze because it wasn't enough. Oh, it's all the way up. Wow, how are you all the way up? Are you actually on there? Bear with me a second here. There we go. There's the haze. And you're really already all the way up. That's interesting. Okay, turn it off here and see how much it is actually. Okay, okay, no, that affected it fairly strongly. What I would probably do here is I would actually do a secondary haze brush since it's not really letting us do another one. Yeah, shouldn't have done it that way though. But actually, you know what? We will do it that way because it really doesn't matter. As long as we hit it with the haze, dehaze, it's going to be the same thing. So just right here where it's still just a little bit too hazy, we're just going to real quick drag it through there. And then we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to dehaze just that little section there. You could vignette it as well or do a graduated filter. Honestly, I probably would crop in a little bit more though because it just kind of looks a little weird the way her back goes out there. Or again, you could darken it here a little bit more. I never plan on going deep into these. This is like, I'm always like, okay, I'm just doing a quick little demonstration of copy and paste type stuff. But I think more realistically, it probably does make more sense to show you how I'm doing this. But as it's been proven in the past, when I talk, I tend to often make mistakes with buttons and such. But you know, we're just going to take that down there. That's kind of the idea of what I'm going for here. Maybe not perfect. It's a little bit weird and blotchy looking regardless. I think I would rather just either deal with that a different way later or come on, where are you? Oh, come on. I really do get confused when I'm talking on camera. Shadows, darkens, it's right there. Layers, that's in layers, that's what it is. I'm sorry, that's the mistake I'm making. So we're going to turn off that. We're not going to do that. I don't like that at all. Simplest solution is just crop and do a little bit more. But might not be the best solution. Regardless, that's not what this video is about, so we'll just keep going here. So what this video is about is that I found that we can, you know, obviously with these we can just apply and they're all going to look more or less the same. I'm going to undo the crop for a very specific reason. Okay, we want to make sure that none of these are on here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this exactly without the crop. What I found, and very pleasantly, was that when I got up above this, here's some that I already did, spoiler, but when we look at these images here, again, this just kind of muddy white balance. If I apply those settings from that cave, wow, voila. Not only does it make it very acceptable white balance to me, it gave me a blue that I haven't gotten before in this onsen. Generally speaking, just by dehazing the onsen, it tends to go blue because it is blue. but a bit murky for various reasons. But it's usually more of a teal or turquoise blue, where this really brought out this kind of navy blue. And I was just immediately like, wow, that's a really nice blue. Now, I definitely would work these. These particular photos here were not focused very well. But, you know, here he's fairly focused. But, you know, I would rework these, do a little more dehazing, the eyes and such I would pop out, and shadows from the face I would also work on. But I was really, really, really pleasantly surprised, because that photo, you know, of the two in the cave, I'd put so much work into. Here you go, this is a good example, just almost out right off the bat. This is a nice image. But yeah, I'd put so much work into that photo, but, you know, generally speaking, you know, you have here this onsen or hot spring photo. Generally speaking, it's not going to work to just copy those adjustments from a cave with very different color scheme going on there. So I just didn't even think to do it. And then today I was just, I don't know, I just tried it. I think this was the first one I tried, and I was just like, oh, that's really nice. So it was a really pleasant surprise, and I was gonna just go hit basically all the photos with it, but I thought I'd just let you tag along as I do these quickly, and not just these guys right here, but some others in the onsen, and then I'm gonna try a couple on the hill if they're in this same folder. It's like a snow-covered hill, to see if those also work. Here's a good example. Those have snow. We have snow behind him. Let's see how this one works. Yeah, it's a little bright, and that happens with some of them because I had the exposure up, or there's just more light coming in at that time. But again, very workable. Now, is it exactly how I want it? No, but you see, I can get it there. None of these am I really going to take all the way today. I'm just kind of playing with seeing what we can do with this particular adjustment. What you can do, by the way, if you know, okay, these are all going to be kind of similar, they're all a little bit more bright, rather than going through and pasting the one that didn't work and then reworking it, you can say, okay, I'm going to do this. And see, that was apparently even more bright, unless I didn't actually copy it properly. Let's try it again. Reset. Apply. Yeah, that one's even brighter. So we're at least closer. Not sure what's going on with that one. That might be haze on the lens or something. Let's try another one. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Not focused really that well. This one's maybe cool because you got the snow it's actually focused on the snow in the foreground, which can be pretty cool. I'm going to turn off the exposure warning just because I can go through and do the exposure corrections later. Really not so concerned at this moment about whether the highlights are blown out or not. So I don't know. We'll see if there's any in here that really are just pinpoint focus on him. And if so, we work out. No. So we'll just go to the next one here. Give me some noise here. Okay, not photo noise. Somebody just came here. So yeah, really, really digging that color scheme though. It's something that I have not really come across while editing these before. So it's a happy accident, and I think that because the real bottom line is because of this white balance issue. I mean, I have done a lot of edits. You'll see some in a little bit. They all look just too crunchy, or just something about them I was really not happy with. You know, this is not perfect. I could reduce the contrast here, or there's a lot I can do here but I really want to keep that navy blue. I may mask around the monkey or something like that, but the bottom line is, yeah, it's a new look that I haven't used before that I think is surprisingly inspiring. I think we're going to copy from here now. And I think I found, yeah, a muse. Something to keep me going. I'm going to close that door. And I think that's a lot of, you know, as a photographer, sometimes you get in a rut, not even just because of issues like this with white balance, but you do the same color grades, or, you know, people talk about finding your look and stuff like that, and that's great. And I do want consistency in at least sets of photos, you know, albums for the most part. But at the same time, I really want to always be, at least for now, I really want to explore new looks. I love this. He's just digging out something stuck in his teeth, just like a person. I guess while I'm doing this, I'll give you some information. If you don't know macaques, which is what these are we call them Japanese snow monkeys, but they're in the macaque family. They are macaques, macaques as some would say. But try not to talk about macaque too much on YouTube. Get me a red flag. But they are the only primates that live this far north except for humans. So it's kind of an interesting fact about them. They are very widespread primates, much like humans. Very clever. Okay, that obviously needs to brighten up. And very human-like in a lot of their behaviors. I think a lot of people dismiss monkey intelligence because, you know, they see them fighting or screaming or something like that. But the truth is, we do the same stuff. We just don't do it as often. We keep it inside a lot more. They're just going to let you know right away if they're not happy with each other, not really with people. They don't bother people, by the way, unless you really invade their space. Look at him just chomping on his foot, I think. Is that your foot or your hand? I think that's his foot. Oh, maybe that's his hand. They do sometimes. They'll pull their foot up to their face. Is that what you're doing? Let's find out. Yeah, that's a foot. That is definitely a foot. There we go. Checking his foot. Maybe a little bit of food stuck there. I don't know. Yep, look at that. We're going backwards here though, but he probably got that from his foot as well. So all of these are wild monkeys. If you don't know, they feed them rice. So the rice gets in the onsen, so they sometimes pick it up from the bottom of the onsen, or it gets stuck on their feet. Anyways, yeah, there's some great photos. See, the thing is, when you have shitty white balance and you're just looking through all these photos, like everything looks like shit. You might be like, oh, that's almost good, but it's just something about it I don't like. But now it's like this photo, even though it's not perfect, I wish the little monkey here's eyes were open a little bit more. Maybe they are in one of these. But just generally speaking, it's just so much more captivating now, just by that change in color. Let's copy from here. Apply. This one might be a really nice one right here. Are you picking your friend's nose? Is that what you're doing? You know, it doesn't apply in the monkey world. The old saying, you can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose. I think for monkeys that doesn't apply. Yeah. Okay, so I could keep going through these forever, and I'm sure that it may be interesting for you guys. I might do more extended in the future as I go deeper into these edits. Let's do this one though. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these I haven't even looked at because they're just so disgusted by the white balance, and you know, it's hard to find the ones that are good ones when you're just looking at a muddy picture. A lot of these need to be deleted. Let me know if anyone using Capture One, is there an easier way? I know there's a way to delete from file. I found it over here somewhere. Like, I would love to be able to actually just open all my photos in Capture One and delete both the raw files and the JPEGs. I know right now I have the JPEGs turned off. I can turn them on. But I'd love to be able to just like delete the JPEGs and the raw files completely from my hard drive when I find, you know, ones that are just blurry, because otherwise I have to go back through to the folder, because it's a lot quicker to just go through the main folder and image viewer or can't think of it right now, the name. There's an image viewing program I have that works really, really well for just, you know, basically forward arrow, delete, forward arrow, delete. You can delete photos really quickly that way. I would love to be able to just do it in Capture One though. So let's see how well this works. This is, yeah, again, there's nothing wrong with that. We can do a lot better with the lighting and the contrast and such, but overall, better than what I had. Not quite as good as what those were. We're going to do some naughty action going on here if you can't tell. That is the alpha male, and he was making the rounds. It was pretty funny because I was just taking pictures. I'm not really actually necessarily noticing him as I'm just taking these pictures. I'm just looking for groups and things going on. I was more interested in this. But as he got closer to me, I realized what was going on. And right at that moment, I think British woman, she's like, oh, he's just making the rounds, isn't he? or no, she said, he's going to everyone, isn't he? Because he's just like going around. Like I think there was a fight. A lot of times what will happen is there's a fight. And it doesn't have to be between the alpha male and other males, but as soon as the fight's over, this one may have been with the alpha male, but he just goes around to like reassert that he's the guy, and he just goes to virtually every girl in the hot spring and does his thing. It's pretty, I don't know the word for it, but I want to say funny, but whatever. He's doing his thing. But I generally don't try to take pictures of that. I mean, it's interesting. I'm not offended by it, but at the same time, I don't think I want to be the guy who's known for selling lots of photos of monkeys fucking. I don't know. It's kind of weird because we're a little bit too closely related to them, perhaps. Like, I'm okay with showing pictures of birds mating. Like, that's not a big thing for me. But I think excessive monkey mating photos is maybe just a little bit weird for me. Okay, so this is what I want to do. I want to see how this does. This may be a complete failure. And actually, the white balance is not that bad here anyways. So this may go way too blue or something. It's going to be bright. Yeah, I knew it would be bright, so we got to take it down. But no, that's actually... That's got an interesting look. It's almost too much pop going on there, but not necessarily. And there's even more there. Yeah, that's not bad. I'd say that's actually good. Can obviously take saturation down, but yeah, I mean, compare this to what it was. We'll reset this. Oh no, was it? Was that where it came from, or was it? We'll just compare it to the one above it. Yeah, this is already, yeah, that's no adjustments done whatsoever is what that was. So yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Again, it's a little bit unique and a little bit more punchy than what I've been doing with these, but I like it. I really like the way it's showing the, I think it's ice reflection here on this rock. It's loading, so we can't really see the full quality there. That's pretty close. Yeah, that's not bad. And that brings me, let's see, we'll do some more here. We'll try and get some more. We'll steal this since we don't want to keep adjusting the brightness. Where was he there? Yeah. One day I'll update my computer. I tend to only update my computer every like 7 years or so. Like, I update components, but like actually fully rebuilding is like 7 years-ish. And I think I'm right about there right now. Actually, no. Well, my motherboard actually I replaced, what, 2 or 3 years ago? Really kind of stupidly, like, I needed it at that moment. So I bought not the one I wanted. It's fine. And I mean, it's a good motherboard. It's got lots of connectivity. It's got 4, I think, M2 slots. But yeah, it's just not quite what I wanted. Next one, we're probably going to go back to crosshair because those are the best, period. Okay, sorry, I'm going to try and get up here. I'm not sure. So there's a special guest made an appearance. This is the back of the monkey, but I like this. Yeah. So this is my first time ever. If I don't show it to you, I'm sorry, but Sero, which is basically a leftover, they'd say a living fossil. It's what essentially, as far as I can tell, it's basically predates goats and deer. They both basically came from that family, or at least it's from the same lineage of that kind of animal that separated into deer and goats. And it looks a little bit like both, but at the same time, very, very unique. In some ways, it almost looks like a bear, almost looks like a pig. I mean, different angles. I mean, it definitely looks more like a goat or deer, but from certain angles, the way it moves too, it really is unique. These are going to be dark, I think. Yeah. Yeah, this really, though, it's like suddenly inspiration achieved, because not only is the white balance good, it's really popping the snowflakes. It's it's popping the monkeys out of the scene, and I'm really digging the result there. So like I said, we can't do all of these, otherwise this is going to be like a 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour video. But maybe I'll bust it up and do a few more of these as I go through here. Let's see, is the Sero in this file? If not, that's going to be a whole separate file. So here's an example, though, of some that I didn't. These are before I started. Actually, no, I think that is actually one of the ones I copied over from this. Let's find out. This is going to be different, though, because I just did all those adjustments. But yeah, that is one. That is one of the few ones up this high that I actually touched with that. And yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, that's actually really nice there with a little reflection of white or whatever in his light. And his light, his eye. So yeah, again, inspiration found. Really, really happy. Is it perfect? No. But is it better than it was? Yes. Here's another. Now this is an example. Okay, this. Let's see. This. It's not bad, but this, I believe, is one of my older attempts. This one I don't think is going to be perfect with this, though, but I think there's potential here. Just a little bit more natural looking. You know, I went too far, obviously, in the brightness on that one. This one, I think, also came from that. I did this earlier today. It's a little bit darker, but I think it's the same basic profile. Not that one. So, we can keep doing these all day, but yeah, again, for the most part, they're all looking good. This one's a little bit more closing in on that teal for some reason. Maybe it's just because it's too bright. I don't know. Just the way the light's hitting, though. Because what I have here, though, is the clouds overhead a lot of times, changing basically the tonality of the water. That is, by the way, this is the alpha. The same, that other photos I was just showing you with was the alpha. Here will be an interesting one. Let's try this. Yeah, I'd want to work it a little bit more. I think the biggest mistake I made this time too is I had it in my bag, but I don't think I ever pulled out the flash. Partially because it was snowing a lot and I was just tired. Also a little bit in my voice. There was a lot of people there, and last time I was there, this woman, sir, and I didn't realize she was talking to me until she got loud. And everyone was looking at her. I looked over. She says, "No flash, no flash." And I literally had checked the night before. That was the first time I brought a flip flash. And I literally checked the night before the official website to see, and it actually specifically said, flashes are okay. Like, flashes and tripods are okay. And I was like, well, that's interesting. But I kept my flash to low levels. I diffused it. I was very careful of my angle because I didn't want to mess with their peace, their tranquility. And I'll tell you, the monkeys never once flinched at it or noticed it even. Like, they just did their thing. But anyways, I stopped using my flash for several minutes, kept taking photos, and then I walked over to where she was, well, let her do her photos and stuff. And when she kind of turned around, I was like, hi there. Listen, I don't want to start a problem here. I just want to let you know that I did check, because I actually told her that as she said that, I said, actually the website is okay, and she said, like, well, I was still taking photos, and she said, that's not what the tour guides say. And A, I don't believe her, honestly. I'm sorry, but I don't believe her. But B, the tour guides are not, a lot of tour guides, especially in Japan, they don't know anything. They pretend to know a lot of stuff about where they are, but a lot of times they know very little about where they are. Because I hear them talking sometimes, I'm like, oh boy, okay. But not all. Some of them are way more informed than I am, but some are just like, I get it, you're making some money. But anyway, so yeah, I got over to where she was, waited for her to kind of turn around. I just said, listen, I don't want to, make a problem here or stress you, but I really did check the website last night, and it said that flashes are okay, and I was like, this is my job, and I'm going to be using the flash. And she's like, well, okay, well, that's just what I heard. But you could tell she was just pissed about it. Her family was kind of like, that face of people when they all acknowledge that person is the person that always makes trouble when there is no trouble. Yeah, that's the vibe I got from her family, like, or people around her was just like, yeah, she's that person. They just didn't want to, like, they were just hoping that she'd just let it go, and she did. And I think partially to my credit is because I did approach her with as much respect as I could muster up to just let her know that, hey, it's really okay. I just want you to know that I don't want to make you mad, but this is what I do, and I was careful in checking. Okay, so the Sero is apparently, let's double check. Is it at the bottom here? I think the Sero is not in this file. So I'll tell you what, here's my promise. You watch my next video, and I'll be editing some Sero photos. Let's do this one real quick. Let's end on a fun little picture here of this guy. Let's reset, because that was probably, oh yeah, that already had something applied to it. Looks more or less the same. Not bad. I guess let's do an iris enhance. Make sure that's clear. Okay, because that eye is dark, which happens in nature, but generally speaking, especially if you're trying to sell photos at Film-Studio-Japan.com, go check them out. You want things to be kind of balanced, unless it's a very obvious reason why that eye is. We're gonna actually enhance this one just a little bit, but this one's going up more, and then we're gonna raise the exposure or the shadow maybe. It's actually more contrast in that eye, it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty intense, right? That's actually good color there. So this is where it's tricky, and sometimes, it's not often, but sometimes what we're going to do here is we're actually going to reset this, because this eye doesn't have enough contrast. So you can't do these together. You just can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to treat them separately. Okay. It's pretty good right where it is. We can always do adjustments later, but what we're going to do then is we're going to just create a new mask. You can do another, I don't think, does it let you do a secondary iris? I think it does. There we go. Yes. Okay. So then we're going to do this one as a completely separate one to add more contrast and maybe even a little bit more color into there. You can get much more detailed and do like singular brushes, and I used to do that for every little detail of the eye, and sometimes I do depending on the photo, but it's one of those things where nobody will notice unless they're really just right up against the photo, and even then I don't think most people will notice. And I think we're going to hit it with a dehaze, because that seems to be really, I think there might actually be like a snowflake between me and him on that eye. You can kind of see that side of the face too has just a little bit of haze. It happens. Yeah, perfect Janai. Janai means not, like it's not perfect, but there we go. We can get a little bit closer. Not bad, okay. Is it perfect? No. Is it reasonable? Yes. I think we could take the exposure down a little bit on the whole image. Play with the contrast a little bit. Play with the brightness a tiny bit. Probably overexposed, as we can see, yeah, just slightly, very, very slightly overexposed. We got white all the way up for some reason. We can take that down, take the highlights down a little bit if we want. All in all, though, it's pretty good. Not perfect. Yes, I would rework it. But I don't want to do one of those 2-hour videos. This is already stretching into, what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? So let's call it good. And let's say, boom, thank you for watching Film-Studio-Taku-in-Japan. If you like my photos, please do check out Film-Studio-Japan.com. A lot of these photos aren't up there yet. This monkey, by the way, is having a bad day too. I mean, I have a lot of photos up there, but a lot of these photos are not up there yet. They will be coming. But just know there's a lot of work that I still have to do on the site, but I think you'll find a lot of really nice photos. And if you're the kind of person who bookmarks a page and revisits it, I think you're going to be very nicely surprised as I roll out a lot of really great photos from Nagano, from various oceanside places in Japan, and cityscapes. Lots of cityscape stuff is coming. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this. Please feel free to give it a thumbs up if you'd like. You don't have to. It doesn't really bother me that much. Subscribe if you like. That I'd like a little bit more. I'd like to get the subscribers up to 500 and then get the watch hours up to whatever that is when you can actually start getting monetized. But I don't know if I really will ever monetize. I think that having a website is the way I want to make money. I really don't want to make money putting ads in my videos, which they do anyways without my permission, but whatever. That's it. Thanks for watching. Peace.